Good night. Good night, Kelvin. Good evening to everyone.
There we go.
There we go. There's Kejan. How are you?
I'm tired, but I'm okay.
I guess that's a story everyone in the media would feel right now. A bit of tiredness after a job well done. And I must
Yeah.
say, job well done to you and the whole CNC3 team. I was happy to tune in and see you co-anchor with Akash Samaru, who was a former guest on this
Yeah, I did.
program.
I did watch the episode with Akash.
Okay,
So
okay, okay. That was, I hope you didn't see the phone slip. And yeah, we had some technical
so it goes with live TV. But yeah, it's been a week, and it will be a week and weeks to come. But it is. Be ready for anything.
Yes, yes, yes. Be ready for anything. And that's the name of the game. The coverage continues. I actually was worried a bit that you wouldn't be able to join us because I'm seeing reporters at Bally's House and everything, but you're here and I'm thankful. And
I'm
we're
a
going to
man of
have
my word.
yes, I'm going to do it. And we appreciate it. So, for those who don't know, I'm Natasha Brown, the host of Conversations with a Journalist, which is a monthly Instagram live series where I ask special guests to join and we cover a variety of topics. Kejan, no stranger, I don't know if you want to just give a synopsis of who you are again to the.
Yeah. Sure. Kejan Haynes. I am a journalist, and I learned today during I had a little training session and a management session, and they asked us to talk about your life outside of journalism.
Yeah.
And I was supposed to say I have none. So sadly, yeah. So sadly, journalism is what I do and kind of who I am at this point. But it's good. It's part of the job. Um, how do I describe how I started? Like most journalists, you kind of fall into it. I was in university. I wanted to study. I was in university in Madrid, Spain,
Yes.
um, studying psychology of all things,
Mm.
and fell in love with Spain. And they told me, well, okay, so if you want to continue doing psychology, you have to move to St. Louis, Missouri. And I said, ew. I said, so what do I do to get to stay in Spain? They said, well, you can switch to communications. And I was like, okay. And I did. And I switched to comms. I was probably going to do PR at the time or just regular comms. No,
Right.
no desire to do journalism. Loved journalism, but had no desire to do journalism until we had a thing called work study. So it was the more you work, the less you pay on tuition.
Correct.
So there were students like me and a couple of the other international students who relied on this, right, to keep your tuition low and all of that. Like most things, you're gonna do a lot of work, make sure that the tuition is as low as possible. Until one day, the dean, who was kind of a tyrant, decided to cap everybody's work study
Mm.
at just like a couple hours a week. And when you did the math, you kind of realized that, well, if I'm accustomed to working, let's say 20 hours a week, and you're cutting it down to 10, that's a lot more money that I have to pay now. And we got mad. And at some point, you don't know what to do when you're mad. You're an international student. You're not going to kick down his door, though I did. But my mother always says, when you get mad, take pen to paper and put your thoughts down, like that. And that's what I did. I started writing for the newspaper. I started writing a series of op-eds. And one that I wrote it was called "How Free is Freedom of Speech at This School?" And I spoke about all of the people who tried to speak out against all of the different things that the dean was doing and all of the different ways that they were punished. And I also ended the. You still hearing me, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Uh, and I ended the piece saying, "Well, don't be surprised if something happens to me, like if he does something to me." I was an RA at the time, resident advisor. So like I had a dorm I was in charge of and my kids. And then all of a sudden, after that article came out, like the next day, I was called into his office and he says, well, I don't like how you're behaving with your dorm, so I'm going to move you to another dorm. And this one was, I had the best one. I had the best dorm. And then I was all of a sudden sent to arguably the worst one. And I was like, cool. Got mad. But again, when you get mad, you get writing. So I kept writing and kept writing articles. And then about a couple months later on this was at the start of the school year, and then at the end of the school year, I get a call. Well, all of the teachers start whispering to me, and they're like, "Hey, we really like what you're doing, and we're taking all of this information. Like, you're not doing this in vain. Keep writing, keep writing." By that time, I was done. I was tired. I felt like it really was falling on deaf ears until I got a call from the vice president of the university, who said he was flying from St. Louis to Madrid because they had sent him all of my articles and he wanted to investigate for himself.
Okay.
So they sent somebody from Missouri to Madrid, gathered as many of us as they could in an auditorium and just asked us questions. And it was like, all right, so we need you to tell us your experiences and all of that. And, everybody came together and told their stories. And by the end of the week, the dean was gone. None of the articles I wrote were necessarily the incriminating ones that got him fired.
Right.
But, what I did find out was that they were the ones that encouraged other people to speak out, and it encouraged people who had information to be like, yo, this kid is onto something, but here's what else I have. And it was at that moment I was like, maybe this journalism thing has something to it.
Yeah.
And at the same time as well, you were getting good encouragement, right? So I was writing for the newspaper anyway, but I never wrote anything like, it wasn't investigative. It wasn't anything. I used to write travel stories. Yeah. It was like, I went to this bar this weekend, and I went to this country this weekend, and that kind of stuff. But people kept saying, like, I don't know what you want to do in life, but it needs to be writing. Like, you need to write. Yeah. And I laughed at them, and I was like, ha ha ha, never. I mean, and you see how that happens.
No.
So, yeah, so that was the start of that. So at that point, I decided to fully get into the journalism. That was about 2 years into my 4-year career. And then I said, yeah, I'm going to do journalism as communications was still my major, but I'm going to focus on journalism. So all my courses then went into journalism. Okay. And yeah, the rest, as they say, is history. I did the next semester I did eventually spend 1 semester in St. Louis, Missouri. Worst semester of my life, but it will happen to be the election of Barack Obama.
Okay.
St. Louis was a swing state, so they were always in the state. So Obama was there, Biden was there. The vice presidential debate between Joe Biden and Sarah Palin was at the school next to my school.
Okay.
And after the official presidential debate, Sarah Palin came to our school. So that was still cool to be a part of it and just be a part of that. And then I really came home in 2009 and said, you're right, I think I want to do this. Met up with a friend of mine from school who introduced me to Tony Fraser, who gave me the worst job interview ever, like a brutal job interview. Basically told me, you know nothing. Why are you here? Go back and learn something and come back. Came back again. Listen, it was not in those exact words, but it might as well have been. Like he's like, you don't know anything about, like, you went to school abroad, you don't know anything about here. Come back
Yeah.
and tell me about it. Came back again. Literally went and picked up 2 social studies books and study and all that kind of things for me. He was like, you did better. Still not good enough. Go home and come back. And by the time I came back the third time, he says, I didn't expect you to come back after the first time.
Mm.
That threw you off. And you here 3 times? All right, let's see what you can do. He threw me on set, told me take a screen test, read off of a prompter the first time, and he was like, if that was your first time reading off of a prompter, I think I could do something with you. And that was it.
Wow.
Started working with Tony Fraser at CNMG, and that was in December 2009. And well, 4 months later, there was an election.
Wow. Okay. So
Yeah, so that
yes,
was
those
like
are the
baptism
okay.
by fire in
Uh,
that. There was no time to get your feet wet. It was immediately
mm. So you have
journalism,
studied
journalism,
print
journalism.
journalism. I was thrown into broadcast journalism.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
I wanted, I had thought that I did TV courses. I did a radio course. People from BBC and that kind of stuff. But I had no intention of going into TV. I didn't think about it. I was like, I ugly. Nobody wants to see me on TV. But then, hey, self awareness. But I had some really, 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 really good teachers at the time. Believe it or not, the person who took me to my very first assignment ever was Asha Javid.
Yeah.
Um, the person who took me to my second assignment was Golda Lee. Disha was there at the time. Fane Richards had joined probably like a month before.
Okay.
So Mark Basant was one I learned under Mark. So they all these names that are so regular now, they were all up and coming at the same time, and we all grew up together in it.
Wow. Okay. So baptism by fire, and it seemed that you would have thrived in that kind of environment.
Yeah.
So in order to get to know you better, this is something I don't do all the time, but I said let's do it with Kejan. We're gonna play a little game. It's called Rapid Fire Elections, this or that.
Ooh.
And you're gonna tell me what you prefer, this or that. Elections edition. All right, covering the incumbent or covering the challenger?
Mm.
Mm.
This
And tell us why.
um I like covering who's winning.
How would you know who's winning?
You get a sense. You get a sense. Um, you get a feel on the ground for who's winning very very early, and then that one is always more fun to cover. So that might change.
Right. So who's winning? All right. All right. Next, covering historic first or tight race, a tight election race? An historic first
Um,
or a tight election race, and why?
nah, give me a historic first,
First
considering
the prime minister.
yeah, the first female prime minister being in Rienzi for that was wild. Beyond anything that I could have imagined. It was great to be there in that moment for that. So I like historic first.
Okay. What about an interview with an economist or a subject matter expert or a candidate interview? And
Candidate
why?
interview every time.
Why?
Because candidates are the one you're holding to the fire. What they say can influence decisions, or it influences their career. One thing they say can influence everything. It can make or break, like, so that's the one. They're the newsmakers. The economists, they just analyze it. This is the equivalent of a conversation between two friends in a bar talking politics.
Mm. Okay. covering a big rally with huge crowds, or a one-on-one sit-down interview?
Give me a one-on-one.
Why?
Okay.
You like clients?
You, I do. But no, like the one-on-one is a chance you show your mettle, you show your ability to pose the question, and then the rapport, and you go back and forth, and you challenge, and you go, like it shows you can get a lot more out of that, because in a rally you just listen to what they say and you're basically regurgitating it. In a one-on-one, you have that ability to pose those questions, challenge their answers. In a rally, if they say something wrong, the most I can do is yell, "That's wrong," and nobody in a crowd of 10,000 people hearing me.
Okay. And finally, are you an early voter or a late voter, and why?
Middle. I literally vote at like 1 o'clock every time because I
Okay.
work in the pool. I work at the polls. You go on the open at the polls,
Yeah.
and then I'm usually on TV for night coverage.
Hmm.
So the only time I have during the day is that little rest in the middle at like 12, 1 o'clock, when you take your 2 hours to vote and then you go back to work. So
Back to.
and there's never anybody there at like 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Pro tip.
Mm. Gotcha. All right, so you have alluded that in 2010 you were in journalism, and of course, we had an election then. Does any election come to mind as most memorable to you, having covered?
Um, Remember I said historic first. So
Yeah.
being there for 2008 was wild.
Mm-hmm.
I remember just hearing, all the cars blowing their horns in celebration, like, and there was this, the first African American U.S. president standing up there, and there were people, and St. Louis is predominantly black, and everybody around me is just looking up at the screens and they're crying, and Obama is just a few states away in Chicago, and that was really something special, and then followed that up with Kamala
Yeah.
winning that election, and they ran a very similar campaign, which is, like, because I had covered the Obama campaign so extensively, I saw all of the minutia that she was like, oh, you took that from him, you took this from him, you took, that "We Will Rise" was the equivalent of "Yes, We Can."
Yeah.
If you remember that, she ran with like a big, some of her ads was like a big K flying through the sky, which was similar to the big O by itself. Like those were the things that, and she was very inspirational and bring it together, and we all, um, whereas now she's running a Trump campaign, so she knows how to work a crowd. And get pinwheeling a bit
I don't know what is.
on your internet provider. Who you with?
No, is my phone temperature too hot? You're gonna have to
Oh,
chill you a while. I'm like, what?
oh man.
At least the battery should last this time. So sorry about that. I see you will probably
Oh,
speaking to
there it
yourself.
goes. Apple products, not surprising.
Okay, offender. No, no offense taken. But yeah, we're back. And right, so you were speaking about some of the elections that were memorable for you, and you would have hinted at Kamala being the first female prime minister of Trinidad and Tobago, as well as Obama's victory in 2008. And just
Yeah, and then Obama.
why it meant
Yeah.
so much to you. Mm-hmm.
Those were definitely two big ones and two absolutely memorable ones, for sure, for sure, for sure.
And of course, the World
After
Post
that,
Office. Yes.
yeah, I've covered a few others as well. Let's see. Well, 2020 was the most fun, that was one where it
Memes.
was all online. It was all online. Yeah, it was. um, just clipping. And because I wasn't at none of us were at the rallies or none were at anything. Everything was online. We saw everything. We missed nothing. So I'm able to clip all of. I will take responsibility for Barataria Saria. I remember as soon as that came out, I was like, this is funny. Tweet. And I did not expect it to get I didn't expect it to get the kind of forward that it did, to the point where, oh God, poor Fane actually ended up seeing Barataria Saria on TV on the election.
Oh yes,
But
and
yeah.
you're very active on Twitter. I mean, I know lots of us follow you for those quick up to dates. And as you mentioned, Twitter, how important is social media right now for
How's what?
any journalist? Hmm?
How's what?
How important is an active social media account for journalists, especially not just the media house, but you as a journalist? Why is it important to be so
Um,
active?
yeah, you need, a lot of times you have this thing where you have to, when people ask you what the ground's in,
Yeah,
I don't go outside. So
the
that's
X,
how
not Twitter.
that's how I get what the ground's saying. You pay attention, you listen. Every now and then somebody will hit you a comment that's actually useful and will help you, guide you somewhere. It's a good place if there are a couple of people in there who will give you good guidance. I'll give you even the best example. During our election coverage on Monday, I was
Yes.
getting up to date, like real time updates of people tweeting, being like, "Why do these people sound like they are in a rum shop?"
Mm,
And that was the signal to me to be like, "All right, let's get these people under control. Um let's get some order back in this thing."
hmm
You know.
Wait, what do you
So
mean by that? Why do these people
oh,
sound
but
like rupture?
yeah, because they were just yelling. And everybody was
Oh,
just talking over each other, and like the thing is, you gave one little instruction, which was, don't wait on me to be called if somebody says, if somebody tells you, um, if somebody says something you disagree with, like, and I'm not looking at you, like, you can speak up and comment on it. Then they took that to mean, well, I just gonna just yell or mutter under my breath for the entire thing. So after a while, you kind of had to, bring it back in. But again, if I didn't have that instant, um, reaction from people, I may have let it go on much longer than it needed to. I think it did
okay.
go on longer than it needed to. But so all of these, so that's really important. Um,
So do people
and
at you a
then
lot?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mm.
Every like that's one of my morning routines to see who cussing me on Twitter.
Well, I meant in a good way, but I guess you get cussed at too.
Get a good way, bad way, whatever way. At the end of the day, you have to take the good with the bad. It's all a learning experience, and your back have to be broad. Your skin has to be very, very, very thick.
Wow. Okay. Noted. And of course, you're a public figure. I mean, your face is out there. Um, yeah, so comes with it. Now, I
Yeah,
was seeing Rhea posted on LinkedIn, I guess another platform, about the preparation that took place at Guardian Media Limited in order to bring the coverage on Monday night. So, can you give me an idea? Because she more spoke on the technical side, the operational side. As a journalist or as yourself, what was that preparation like, knowing that, hey, Monday night, all eyes will be on me, um, and my co-anchor and the station and my reputation? And what was preparation like for you personally?
we have a joke in the office that the M in GML stands for meeting.
Mm.
It I would literally end one meeting, disconnect from that Zoom call, and go into another one. So one meeting would be planning for guests, we
Right.
deciding who we want. The next one would be planning for the show itself. The next one would be graphics. We pick in the graphics that we want. And then at the same time, remember, we were doing Agenda 41. So that was
Yeah.
the show that was running alongside on the days leading up to the election. So then there was that meetings for that. Who were the guests for that? What are we planning for this week? What's the topic this week? So I have been in meetings
Mm.
since, when did Stuart call the election? The 17th of
April.
March? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes. So I've been in meetings since then. So
Wow. Mm, okay. And as you mentioned, the picking of the guests, I'm always curious as to how guests are selected. Is it based on availability? Because I mean, there are a few names. Okay, we mentioned economists. There are a few economists that stand out. And of course, I don't know if everybody will be clamoring to get that guest on their program. What is the selection of guests like, and how do we know? I don't know, what is the vetting and selection like of a guest on a panel like that?
you try to get a political analyst, an economist, and of course, you want a representative from the two major parties. This time, we decided we wanted somebody from Tobago as well, so that's how we got Dr. Winford James. So we had the two economists, and Hamid Ghani is the resident pollster at Guardian Media
Right.
and the resident political analyst. So he would have been there. And then, of course, we didn't get anybody from the UNC per se, but we got Rodney Charles, who's a former UNC MP. So we got him. And then, of course, Dr. Amory Brown, who is still in the PNM as of now, but he's not, former senator at this point. So that was the thought. A lot of times we go around and we say, oh God, this one again, like this one always there, or this one this one is always boring when they come. You know, like you talk it through, and a lot of times they ask you as well too. They say, if this person coming, I not coming. You know, like it gets like that sometimes.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
so then you have to weigh your options. Do I like X or do I like Y more? And and all of those things. Some people, if you have a good relationship with them, they even ask, they call, and
Can
they say,
I?
hey, can I come by? Yeah, can I come by you guys for election night? The competition calling me, but I like you all. I like you all.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Mm-hmm.
that's one of those things. Sometimes you have to turn people out. Like anything else, you're picking your six best friends to be to be in your wedding party.
To walk with you, yeah, to walk with you down this aisle.
Yeah.
Is dinner provided? That's just me being curious.
Yeah, election night pizza is a tradition. Must
Pizza
have
for the
must have
panelists?
pizza. Oh, for the panelists, I thought you meant the newsroom.
No, 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 panelists.
Yeah, they get food and stuff after.
Okay, okay. That was just me being curious. Side question.
Sure.
Okay, so you spoke about the meetings and the demand on your time. What other challenges come to mind when you think of covering an election?
Um, one of the biggest challenges is really, especially one like this one, navigating the many political meetings. So back in the
Mm,
day, it was just PNM UNC, PNM UNC. So now this time we had to find Michaela Pandey where she was, and you want to find Gary Griffith, and you're trying to be inclusive. You're trying to give everybody
yeah,
um, trying to give everybody a chance. There's only like there's only so much airtime for anybody, and so much patience that we have. So there's that. Um, what also happens is that your behavior has to change as well. So like um, you talked about my social media. That definitely had to tone down a little bit this time, just because everybody's so sensitive, and any one thing could be misinterpreted one
yeah.
way, one or the other. And of course, the famous, you can't wear any red and yellow for the next 6 weeks.
Orange or blue or
Anything that could be associated with,
that kind
right?
of favoritism.
So yeah, those are the things that we have to think about. A lot of times in management, it's managing resources. It's who's going to work PNM this tonight. What's your shift like? Who's your cameraman? Like all of these things come up as well. It's not the day to day where everybody can be home by 7 o'clock when
Yeah.
news finish. So what else? Then you also have to think about how often I'm sending one person to one party, because people may interpret that as he's a PNM reporter, he's a UNC reporter. So we have to make sure that we get that balance in making sure that everybody is spread out really well. And if you covered PNM today, maybe UNC tomorrow. If we did a live with PNM today, hey, make sure we do a live with with UNC tomorrow. Like that kind of stuff. Like a lot of those things, a lot of navigating some tough waters. And then it's making sure that the stories are out in this digital age. They have to be out now. Now.
Yeah.
You standing up in that crowd, I want you typing and sending me pictures and stuff like that.
Real
And
time.
then tomorrow we call in analysts and we asking them what you think about what this was, what you think about the promise that was made and stuff like that. So that's how that goes.
Yeah. And I know around election times, I mean, you work in broadcast media, and there's ads. There's a higher frequency of ads
Oh
during an
my God.
election season. How does how does it impact your 7 p.m. broadcast? Because I mean, and of course, there are instances where there's no newscast at all because there's a rally that was paid for live. So in terms of juggling the space you have for your stories now, is it that Kejan, well, I know you had a story here that's 5 minutes, but we're gonna have to cut it down to three. So what
No.
is the
That story is now 30 seconds.
that's like 30 seconds now.
That story is now 30 seconds. That story that was 30 seconds. We'll put that in the ticker tape in the bottom. Like that's how it goes. There are
Wow.
times when in a half-hour newscast you will get um almost 20 minutes in breaks. So like that it's really really bad sometimes. And as much as you want to yell at the sales team and be like, guys, at some point say no. No, you can't.
Yeah.
Money, money, money.
Money
So
talks.
so we so you make decisions. You try to. It also improves your writing. You learn how to write better, tighter stories, quicker scripts. You're choosing the best sound bites to make sure that everything is snappy, snappy, snappy. So that in that 2 minutes that you do have before the next 10-minute commercial break,
Mm-hmm.
people know what people get in their further news.
Okay. Has there been any sense of was it with migration from traditional media to the digital platforms just because of that? Because of the fact that I could get my news in a news clip from you all, I don't have to go through ads. How was that really impacted?
Well, I mean, we lucky for us, we doing the same job. So the same reporters that doing the TV stories are the same ones who are doing the digital stories.
Sorry. Okay.
So their work isn't going for nothing. So that I said. So when you are at that rally and you are holding up your phone and you're showing me Kamala Prasad Bissessa walking in and being greeted, that is WhatsApp send caption online
Right. But it won't
immediately.
necessarily be on TV.
May
That
not be on TV, no.
okay. Okay. All right. So
And I think
that's
we've kind of gotten to the point where we're okay with it. I think with digital, it's a little more satisfying as well too, because again, instant comments, people are commenting, sharing, and like I said, if you get some um, constructive criticism in the comments, you can immediately pivot. Maybe I spelled a word wrong. Maybe I did this, and I can just go back and fix immediately. As opposed to sometimes if you do something wrong on TV, there's no going back. You can't fix.
yeah. And as you mentioned, the comments. This is something I've always wondered because, of course, it's silly season, and maybe CNC3 has paid for a political ad, and it's on social media. And of course, is there anyone assigned maybe to probably delete, hide any hate speech or anything like that, or that's
We
not the
we we should, but unfortunately, that train has Sorry.
Let it run out.
There's this thing I say that the train has sailed. I made a mistake once and I say it all the time now. It's like, yes, that train has sailed. Because we,
Shipwreck.
um, yeah, it's a lot, and we make sure that we let Facebook deal with the really really bad ones.
Okay.
Um, but we haven't gotten to the point, and maybe we should in some things, where you just take off comments altogether. I know there are a lot of stories where sometimes a judge, this is not related to elections, but this is
Mm-hmm.
legal stories where the judge tells you, yeah, you can't have comments on this because it could either prejudice the case or it can give more trouble, that kind of stuff. And that then we have to do it. But in terms of that, we just kind of roll with it and hope for the best. It's not the best system,
Mm-hmm.
but you know, but we keep seeing. And one of the things I always tell people is that I won't assign somebody to do something that I wouldn't do myself. And I've seen so many stories of these Facebook comment moderators who lose their minds and suffer from
Mm-hmm.
extreme depression because it's their job to go and read all of these things. And I said, listen, I'm not going to assign anybody to sit down and do this. This is hundreds and hundreds of messages that you would have to go through, and so it's not ideal until we can find better. It's what we have.
And in terms of the headlines, because of course, when we speak of social media, the photo with a headline is normally what gets people to either click, go in the comments, or whatever. What kind of care is taken in crafting a headline? Maybe after a Monday night forum, maybe after a rally, and you want to get a scintillating headline, but what kind of care is taken?
Yeah, so that's interesting as well, because we've kind of been going all up and down and all over with how we want to craft our headlines. Do we want a headline that gives away everything in the headline? So, like a Daily Mail, where you basically read the article in the headline because they know you're not reading the article.
Right.
One of the things that we have, we don't just post the story straight from the website. We'll see the little graphic, and we try to keep that graphic with only like 10 words or less. So that makes it even harder. Like, how do I capture all of in a short headline? So there are times I write a headline and then the graphic artist will come back and say, it's too long. I was like, but there's no way to say this shorter. They're like, I don't care. It's too long.
Wow. Work with me, Kejan. He's like,
Yeah. So it's a lot of thought that goes into it. One of the things that we also try to do is because we post like usually the first line of the story, what can't be said in the headline, we make absolutely sure that as much information, because we know you're not going to read, we put it in that top line as well. But then
okay.
one of my things to do is read the comments and have them fight each other and say, well, if you had read the article, you would have seen tra la 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 la.
Who's gonna do that when you just told me everything in the headline, huh?
But the fights are fun sometimes.
Okay, I get it. All right,
I mean,
so talking about
when somebody has read the story and like somebody asks in the comments a question that's clearly answered in the second
okay,
line of,
yeah, that
you
is
know,
funny. That is funny.
yeah, and they tell them read the article. Or sometimes somebody will just copy paste the article and put it in the comments,
Hmm.
and I'm like, but then why? You know,
So you
people
spoke
are funny.
about what steps you would have to take in terms of kind of toning down your social media. How do journalists ensure that they remain impartial in covering political news and elections? Or what tips would you give for budding
Yeah,
journalists?
wording is everything. Try not to editorialize. Stick to the facts. Stick to what was said, um, and just go down the middle. Um, Sometimes, if you write it well enough, I tend to be a little tongue in cheek sometimes, and if you read between the lines, you can see where I'm trying to say. Yeah, they said this, but this isn't true.
Mhm.
sometimes in this world that we live in now, saying that something is not true is somehow misconstrued as bias towards somebody else. So if I said this political party said this and this is wrong, why am I automatically supporting the other party? Like, no, like wrong is wrong. So it's an interesting new world that we live in where you have to deal with that. Obviously, you do obvious things like you're not going to post on social media yellow is the code or great is the PNM or like come. There's no way you can do that. Um, but I think we got as far as being told you can't, you shouldn't like posts by politicians in some cases. Just that it could be interpreted. So even if, let's say, a politician that you cover posts a picture of their dog, you're like, oh,
Oh,
dog, like, they're very careful to be like, listen, I know it's a dog, you like dogs, they like dogs, but you don't want it to be seen as an endorsement
yeah.
of any.
That person, yeah.
Yeah, so like again, in this age where everybody's hypersensitive and looking for an excuse, you try to make sure that you don't give them ammunition.
Yeah. And I see Call Me Twine is asking if your line of work allows you to do things. Are you free to do anything at all?
No, I have no like
No,
that.
you have
That
no line.
yeah, as we said at the very beginning of the conversation, I was in a training session today, and one of the things that you were asked, the usual thing you tell me something about yourself. I was like, who are you outside of work? And I was like, what does that mean?
Mm, correct. And we can ask another question here from Sasha. Good night, Sasha. She wants to know how do external, and I guess she means international political influences affect our media and our local politics?
For one, we do actually. I mean, if you looked at the show um on Monday, you could tell we looked at that and we said, "Hey, I see CNN doing this. I want to do that too." So it just in that sort of the physical way that we present the foreign media would um, influence that as well. But in terms of like if it's influencing the coverage, well, we have to pay attention to, of course, what's going on in the world. And we see now, especially with Kamala Prasad-Bissessar being chosen, immediately you have Marco Rubio coming out and saying, congratulations. So now we pay attention to that. What does that mean for us as a country? Where do we go now? Is this a good thing for U.S. Trinidad relations? Um, so these are all the things we pay attention to. All things considered, if I stay on that for a little while, Marco Rubio liking us may not be the bad thing that people think. If you think of the fact that we were good with um, the Biden administration and we got some wins out of that. If we're good with the next one, then we win again with that too, And now I just use the word win, and somebody go say, look, he's a UNC. So
Yay!
all of these, you see the things that have to go through my head,
You have to consider, yeah.
in any given day with any kind of speech.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And you would have mentioned fact checking or you're getting facts from persons. How hard is it to fact check your information? And to piggyback off of that question, I saw, was it the Associated Press? They had a new journalistic um, rule or guideline for persons who cover persons verbatim. So say you're covering a political candidate and they go on a rally and say, in fact, 5% of you will lose jobs. How do you report a statistic or something? But you're not sure if it's true. How is it going to happen? Is it not going to happen? But they said it on the platform, or they said it. How do you report somebody and
Very,
you're not
very
sure?
simple. You say he said this without any evidence to back it up,
Mm-hmm.
or we reached out for clarification as to where he got the information from, and none was forthcoming. If you know the truth, you flat out say it. There were
Okay.
12. There were 12 people. There were in. Police have said that there were in fact 40. That kind of stuff you can just fact check immediately in the story.
Mm-hmm.
And or sometimes if you don't get it immediately, you can go back the next day and say, say, well, all right, well, yesterday he said this, but in fact, when we checked, it was this and this. And
Okay. So is it that a story can be on hold until facts are verified?
yeah, we've shelved many a story because we couldn't verify one fact.
Mm.
And we say either, and because this one thing is so important,
Mm.
we say, all right, tomorrow. But it depends on the story, of course. If it's
Yeah.
like a story that we've been working on, and maybe not something that happened in a
Mm-hmm.
press conference, But if we've been working on a story and we can't verify that one fact, we say check it, we run it tomorrow.
Okay. And to piggyback off of that, I've always understood, just from where I sit, that the person who answers the call is the one who gets the quotation. So what is it like in terms of trying to get onto maybe a PM or whatever? They don't answer the phone, but the other side does. How do you balance? Okay, I got onto this person, but I didn't get onto that one. How do you report when only one person answers the phone or answers the question?
Exactly like that. Exactly like that. Efforts to we got onto the prime minister. This is what the prime minister said. Efforts to reach the opposition leader were unsuccessful.
But is that satisfactory to the public, you think?
No, but also if the if the public wants their political leader, so to speak, to respond, say that, and eventually that public pressure will get them, should get them to respond. One of the things that we have started to realize though is that there are some people who can reach someone quicker than others for whatever relationship. If there's a relationship they have, or the politician trusts this reporter more, like we will literally say, hey, call your partner dinner.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I might be ringing down the phone, and they will never respond. And like this person will just send a text, and immediately they get the response they're looking for.
Yeah,
So there's collaboration in the newsroom like that, because we want it, and so it's not like a selfish thing. Like, this is my story, you can't have it. So you just need for the partner for me.
yeah.
So we make all efforts to try to get everybody who we try in the story.
And I saw you would have tweeted, I'm not sure how recently, maybe this week, last week, about the party don't like about the elections, the new faces, and you're gonna have to get to know these new persons. And of course, we're expecting new cabinet appointments, we're expecting a new leader of the opposition, etc. So in terms of building that relationship now, I guess I don't know if you're gonna have to start from scratch,
From scratch. There are a lot of new faces in the government that's coming in, especially a lot of familiar ones too. Um, a lot of times too, the relationship from when you were in government to opposition, or opposition to government, changes. So somebody who may have been extremely accessible in opposition, all of a sudden not answering their phone in government,
Yeah.
or vice versa. I'm sure that Colm Imbert will be unblocking a lot of us very soon when he has things to say.
Yeah.
So
I don't want
that's
to call
how
names,
it is.
but and we dive. We have a question here from Sasha. She wants to know, Kejan, can you explain passive versus active voice when you're reporting facts?
It's a grammar thing.
Hmm?
I use an example of add by zombies at the end. So active voice is zombies kill the man.
Yeah.
Passive voice is the man was killed by zombies. So if you can have the by zombies at the end, it's passive voice. If you do it the other way around, active voice.
Yeah, Sasha, thumbs up if that was clear with you. We'll not wait for the thumbs up. But have you personally received any sort of criticism or pushback on your election coverage? What was the feedback from Monday night? I don't know if you can share any thing you would do differently, anything you would have you were proud of.
Proud of the team for sure. They did a really, really good work. Everybody from the graphics team to Akash as co-anchor, to all the reporters on the field. Like they were all brilliant. Everything it was one of those days where everything just clicked. They didn't seem to be any um, hurdles or any sort of mishaps. And if there were, I didn't know. And if I didn't know an idea, the public probably, even
Right.
less knew. Do better, but like I said at the beginning, corral that panel a little bit earlier before they started to get as rowdy as they did. But you get mixed reviews of that. There were some people who were like, I like the yelling, and then the other people said, you know, they couldn't hear anything. But you live in. And the next time I'll be sure to not tell them. Yeah, feel free to interject. Don't wait on me. No. I'll control my panel next time.
And from just from a viewer, is there like a producer who's saying, okay, cameraman, pan to Kejan, no, pan to Marlene, pan to what's that?
Yes, that's happening, but I
But
don't.
you're not hearing, right? So
I wouldn't hear
you
that.
not know any cameras directly on you.
I will. There's a monitor in front of me, so I can see what is being shown on TV. What I will hear is, all right, Kejan, we have Akash, or toss to Akash. Akash has more numbers, or I'll hear, hey, this person talking too long. Just go to somebody else. Like that kind of stuff. Like you get those instructions. You get um, they're really sharp, quick instructions to say what we're doing next, or go to commercial break, or toss to this package. Ask so and so what about you know how he feels about whatever. So those are like the very short instructions that I will get in my ear. I wouldn't hear what the directors and all of them are saying.
Okay, yeah, good. And in terms of, okay, you said Akash will have new figures. Toss to Akash. Where is Akash getting these figures? And that's something again, of course, I don't
That's our
hear.
secret. Can't reveal our secrets.
What?
Can't reveal our secrets.
Because I thought maybe the EBC is like,
MC3 has a very special way of getting the numbers in. Only we know.
so it's not EBC. Had another piece of paper and like a pigeon
No,
takes
no,
it.
no, 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 no. And that's something that I really, and I'm mad that I didn't do it. And I always, after the last election, I did really vow to meet with the EBC to come up with a much better way of getting the numbers, because it wasn't great, because you realize that once EPNM realized they were losing, they shut down everything. They kicked us out, and it
Oh,
was not kick us out physically, but you know what I mean.
okay.
They stopped providing the numbers in the speed that they did. So we were relying on other people our plan Bs to get numbers. Um, but I think there really comes time to meet with the EBC and sit down with the EBC and come up with a system where we can be in at least a central place where things are being counted, and we too can independently verify and see and funnel those numbers back.
Okay. 'Cause I did notice on CNC3, the ticker figures didn't really change. So,
Yeah.
like, yeah, my mom was like, but the same number.
I'll be the first to tell you that, yeah, like even though we have it's a secret, because it does work when it's ready to work. It was a lot slower than we needed it to be this time.
Mhm. And do you think, compared to 2020, I think uh, uh, the election was called much quicker to me. I got the sense that I stayed up much later.
Yeah,
No?
you stayed up later this year. You stayed up later
I
this year.
stayed up later this year
Yeah,
than
Dr.
2020.
Rowley had called it very. It was very quick. It was all right. Stand by. We have a live from Balize House, and
Okay.
usually that first live is just an update. Hi, thank you for coming. Here's what we know so far. But in 2020, that first one was all right, guys. We've won. Everybody go home.
Mm.
This time it was kind of the opposite, the other way around. About an hour later, that first interview was all right. We've lost. Everybody go.
Yeah. Everybody go home. Okay. So you're keeping the secret about
Yeah, yeah,
providing.
yeah. Can't give out that.
Okay. But okay. All right. But well, of course, well, you have men on the ground, clearly, who's handing you pieces of paper. I would assume.
What are you talking
All
about?
right. Well, keep it to yourself. Okay, so we spoke about assigning editors, assigning cameramen. How do you decide um, um, which candidate or which constituency gets the media's attention? Of course, Siparia has to be covered because that's a given. You have to have coverage there. You have to have coverage at Bally's House. Where else would you think a media camera should be on election night?
So what we do is hi puppy. So what we do is we make sure we have the political leaders covered. That those were the first ones, and so we had it sectioned off, the political leaders and their headquarters, and then we go to so like for Kamala especially, so she will have a superior office. If she's winning, she'll go to UNC headquarters. If she's losing, she stays in that. So we had to split those resources just in case. And then after that, you probably go to wherever on election night, we stick to the headquarters really. You don't really go to the individual places. If we're doing coverage, like talking about the lead up to the election, we definitely try to focus on the marginals, those ones that will swing and make those difference. So those you try to go as many as you can, but you definitely try to focus on the marginals.
Because I always wonder, because similarly to like SCE morning, like why was the media at the Rima Boys RC and not San Fernando? Is it like just where the resources? So if the media, if the journalists lives in Rima,
sometimes like that, we tell everybody, just go close to your home because it's early in the morning. So if you have a school nearby, grab your camera and just go close to where you are.
Yeah.
And some of the photographers actually had children, so that was even better for us. So you get real good footage that you wouldn't normally get because of that. But a lot of times it's just a time and resources thing. We try to spread it out. You have somebody in Trinidad, north, south, east, west, and then somebody in Tobago, east Tobago, west as best as we can.
And similarly, when you catch a candidate voting election day where they stain their finger, how is that allocated? Because is there anyone you say you have to get them as they vote? Of course, Stuart Young, you have to get.
Right.
Farah is always captured voting. I was like, why he always?
It's also a very exhausting process. Hours and hours of calling people in the day before, the days before. Hey, where you voting? What time you voting? Same place as last time? Same time as last time? After a while, some people have some patterns that you get accustomed to, so all right, Jack Warner used to be the first one in line every morning. So if you're looking for Jack will be first in line. Kamala Prasad Bisesa would be later. She always goes between, like midday, lunchtime kind of thing. So we have an idea there. We still have to call and confirm. Like same thing. If you live in nearby, all right. If you live in here, you're getting him there. If you live in there, because it's still 6:00 in the morning sometimes, so you don't want. It doesn't make sense to come to the office and then go somewhere else. If you're close by, you just allocate the resources.
Okay. So during an election day, we know, okay, there's the 6 a.m. polls are open. By midday, we may get some kind of feedback on the flow and how much people are turning out and all of that. Is there a gap period where there's nothing really happening on election day, especially since the polls have not closed as yet? So just waiting around.
Yeah, that's when I go and vote around 1 o'clock. So so really after 12 o'clock, things kind of die down. You still kind of move around looking to see if anything's happening, but around that time, you're back in office and you're writing. You're writing up the stories that you got from morning, the interviews and all of that. So it goes into the paper, it goes into the newscast until it's time for the big.
Until it's time for the big news.
Yeah, the big one. And then you take that over. What's that?
What time were you in studio in preparation for the night's coverage?
I'd gotten into the office about 3 o'clock. So I was out on the streets. I did a few interviews. I got Roger Alexander and some other candidates. Because again, close to where I live.
Mm-hmm.
Went back home, checked some stories from at home, make sure that the 12 o'clock newscast was okay. and go to vote, take a chill a little while, and then head back to the office. I was in the office by like 2, 3 o'clock, and then straight through the day.
Are there rehearsals going on?
The rehearsals are usually done the days before. You know,
Okay.
by the day of retired, we know what we're doing. You know, just
Okay, professionals.
no, yeah, well, no, yeah, we rehearse. Like again, the prep the days before. It's like SCA. You don't want to cram the night before. You know, like it's just last minute checks. If something wasn't working in the last rehearsal, we'll check that. But for the
Mhm.
most part, you want to just kind of calm yourself until the show. You don't want to overexert yourself.
So you didn't want to answer this question. Let me ask it again. How do you stay updated on breaking developments during an election?
Social media. I mean, for the most part, breaking. You already have people out on the field. We are the ones breaking the news for the most part because we are the ones making the news and was getting the interviews, talking to the newsmakers and all of that. The ones who, if anything happens, well, they get through social media like everything else. But I don't think we. There were some instances of like the somebody was being arrested that came in a press release. Somebody heard gunshots that came through, the usual little WhatsApp chats, and then you send somebody there to verify. It was my life story.
What's that?
That part one was my life story,
True. You didn't really need to hear that one, Sasha. So
and
we
Sasha
just
was there for it, so
she was good?
Sasha was there for it,
Oh, okay.
so she lived through it. Is that right?
Yes. And Alexander is here for the pecan. So as we wrap up tonight,
Alexander is late as usual, as he does.
yes. So what are you looking at?
Now,
Yeah.
not well. Twitter.
Wow. It's not that boring here.
No,
So
it's an addiction. I'm not going to lie.
oh god.
Just
So let
want to
me
see
hit you
what.
a hard hitting question then so you can refocus.
Mm-hmm.
Kejan, this is from ChatGPT. What do you think is the media's responsibility in shaping public opinion during an election? Public opinion, your
I don't know if
responsibility.
we're supposed to shape their opinion. We're just supposed to inform them and let them shape their own opinion.
For
That
500 words.
Yeah, that's it. We don't shape. We try. We're not supposed to shape your opinion. You're supposed to make your own opinion through informed means. That's kind of changed now if you look at the world of like Fox News and that kind of stuff. But at least down here, for the most part, most of us are still trying to do the traditional way, go down the middle and be non-partisan.
Yeah. And as I went back into my Instagram, I'm seeing that Penelope Beckles was chosen as the opposition leader.
Yeah, all women.
All
Woman prime
women.
minister, woman opposition leader, woman president. Good times.
Good time to be a woman. No. So what's a story, Kejan, from this election coverage that you would have undertaken that stood out to you and had significant impact?
I don't know. The story of this election was boring, to be honest. It really was a lackluster campaign on both sides. I say that very openly that we struggled really with this campaign to like feel the vibe, to feel the excitement, to really move in that same way. But um, it really did come down to the fact checking of whether or not some of these promises you could actually
Hmm.
um, follow up on with no or with limited funds, and yeah, that's kind of how it goes.
Okay, I need you to elaborate on the boring part. You said no,
Oh,
why
it was
campaign
it was
itself?
lack, it was like yeah, it was very lackluster. The PNM's campaign didn't have a clear message in the way that the UNC's did. Like from the time I always tell people when children start singing it, you're gone. Like it's like road match, like it's road match when children start singing.
Yeah.
You found yourself humming the when UNC wins, everybody wins kind of stuff, and They had a message and it was clear and consistent. The PMs was it was scattered. You never knew what it was. Was it, are we all in? Are we red and ready? Are we right? And like those things. And you kind of realize that they were also campaigning puppy. You also realize they were kind of campaigning as an incumbent against somebody who hadn't been in power for 10 years. So that would have made it a little bit harder to justify why I liken it to like my girlfriend's about to break up with me, and all I'm going to say is, here's what's going to happen. Here's what's going to happen. I'm not going to change.
Mm.
That guy is just worse. I
Oh,
don't say his name. But that guy is worse. That's not,
that's no
it's
good in your
it's
hearts.
not a convincing argument, and I think that is definitely what happened in this campaign. Like the campaign itself, and the lacklusterness of the campaign, to me was the story of the campaign.
Mm. I hear you. I saw someone vote Haynes. I saw a Twitter comment actually that TNT elections is like a big fet. It's like oh, I can't remember word for word, but it
Hey,
was
easy,
something
easy
to
can do. Hey, the
our carnival
same.
and
They had more
fair.
music truck than Carnival Monday and Tuesday, boy.
Yeah, yeah,
It
yeah.
was a good year to be a music truck man.
Correct. To be a fringy man. Okay, so how would you summarize the election campaign? I know it would have really started when the election bell rang, and you alluded to all the preparation that the media house would have undertaken to the lead up of the election night. But how would you summarize? I mean, you gave a summary just a while ago, but in terms of the media's role and of course shaping that message and preparing the masses, because a lot of the messages and a lot of the came through the media, whether through advertising, whether through the front page, the headline, the little clip, the little video, digital clips. Yeah, summarize that for me.
Yeah, well, I seen Glenn Ray's message there. That's absolutely it. You have to have a message,
Mm.
and it has to be short and concise for a digital age. Slogans, nursery rhymes, nursery rhyme ish. There's a difference. There's a difference between what sticks. What sticks in your mind. At the end of the day, you want a message. Your message has to be easy to remember. It has to be quick. Um, the problem with that is one side is trying to explain, hey, I want to do all of these nice things for you, but here's the problem: we don't have that much money, and money is kind of a problem. And the next side is like, everybody wins.
Mm.
Which one are you gonna remember? You know?
Yeah, correct. And how have you compared this year's election to previous elections? I mean, the 2020, 2015, we're old enough to remember those, at least me.
Well,
20, I guess,
this is my fourth election that I'm covering. So 2010, epic, you
epic.
know, epic. If my first election, vibes on vibes on vibes. Um, 2015 was for me fun because I would have been able. I had a lot more freedom. I had my first show and like my own TV show that got to cover the election in my way. Being able to be sarcastic and funny and talk to my reporters when we were doing it as well. Um, 2020 again, really cool because of the pandemic. Bless you. Because of the pandemic and just what it was like to campaign in a pandemic. And this year,
Oh yeah, the boring, yeah.
yeah.
I guess it will go down in history, as a boring year for you. So you would have mentioned that, okay, so CRC3 is trying to piggyback off of some of the trends of CNN and all these Fox News and all of that. How can journalism in Trinidad evolve even further to better serve the public during an election?
That's a tough one. What does the public want? What does the public want versus what does the public need? We Who can really answer that question?
Do you see
Until we
further
get
investments in technology? How has AI played a role? Um, what would you like to see out of Trinidad and Tobago, the local media's coverage?
I listen. I think the media, we do the best we can with the time and the energy and the space that we have. I need the public to read. I need the public to invest in themselves, because
Mm,
in this age of, again, AI and deepfakes, Alex will know all about
yes.
that. You need to be more informed. You need to read. You need to watch the press conferences live, so that when somebody show you a video and say, "Hey, he just say in the press conference, you gonna fire everybody in Massa," you're like, "I watched the
Mm,
press conference. He didn't say that." These are the things that you have to do, because at the end of the day, we will just end up running around spoon feeding people
mm.
and telling them, "No, that's not what happened. No, that. But I see this on. Okay, but that's not what happened." And so
I mean,
yeah,
but we will always have tanties. We will always have our grannies who can't they can't keep up. They
we
can't keep
will.
up with AI that has Stewart kissing Kamala and they sending it to the
I
family
mean,
group.
and how many and how my thing has always been, since I was um growing
Yeah.
up. Anytime we wanted to implement some new technology, the responsible. What about the tanties? Am I responsible? What about
Mm,
get them on board? Teach them why should we leave the tanties behind? Bring them along, or why
mm.
should we hold back and wait for the tanties until we become tanties ourselves? Let's all go forward.
Just keep them on board.
Yeah.
But this was the first election where we would have seen AI images and personally to criticize my one criticism of UNC's campaigns was a lot of AI generated images. So all their print advertising had a nurse, and of course this is AI image. These are AI
Would
images.
you
So
put your face on a UNC campaign?
yes,
You would.
yes.
You would have put
No,
your
but
face. Yeah, but that's my point. How many
yeah.
people are going to actively put their face on a campaign in this day and age where nobody sees it as you just taking a check? They
Mm,
assume that this is your life, this is your whole everything. You believe in this
mhm,
completely.
mhm,
So using AI actually works in their benefit.
mhm. Were there stories generated this election that were actual non-stories? For example, I was George singing for UNC. I think that was a headline, or
But that was
yeah,
real.
they had to interview him. Like, does this mean this? Does it? Could it just be that he wanted a paycheck? Was that a non-story, or?
Oh, no, we had to find out. I mean, but that's what everybody wants to know. So we ask, hey, do you want a paycheck, or you're here to endorse? Because there are a few people who do it for the paycheck, and there are a few people who genuinely, truly believe in the
Mm,
cause.
okay, I got a note here to stop shaking. Sorry about that.
So it might be me because I was playing with the dog.
Okay, okay, okay. But could you think of any stories that probably were not really necessary or worthy of coverage? No.
Every day, everything is what I've told people is that sometimes a story that we think is the biggest non-story,
Mm-hmm.
4 years down the line,
Mm.
I see it viral again because it has nothing to do with that. But like it just happens to relate to something that happened, you know, today. So there's no such thing as a non-story. There's a not great story, or not front page story. But all right, I go feed you.
And give me advice now. Okay, I'm in the PR world. How long do you think election news or will stay in? Say I want a client who wants to be on TV, wants to get that feature in the papers. Should they wait? Should they hold off for next 2 weeks? How
Oh,
long
how
is
long?
this
How long you
would
think before all of this hype dies
before
down?
yeah and other
Yeah, you have another couple. You have another couple weeks again as we get into the new ministers, and all the ministers are going to be touring, and they're going to just be walking around, and
the
so in the
first
next
day?
week or so, things going to get back to normal.
But then we have things coming up in May. We have Mother's Day. We hope that the media pivots maybe a little bit, Or we have what else is happening? Indian Arrival Day. You may want to pivot a little bit. So do you think the news focus is going to be challenging for anyone trying to get coverage right now?
Yeah, it is for a long time, for a really really long time. But that's just been how it's been for a while.
A really, really long time. Okay, look at the morning brew. All the guests going to be about just for the next couple weeks. All the
No, we're
guests
gonna
going
try.
to be
No, we're
affiliated with
gonna
this.
try to kind of important.
Sorry, what's that?
But I will have to take that in about 2 minutes.
Sure, sure, sure. No problem.
Yeah. So I'll take this as the last question.
Yes.
Yeah. So morning. No, morning brew likes to make a mix of the hard news at the start and the softer news at the bottom. So there's always room for everything. There is room for everything. We try to get as much, but hopefully with fewer ads, we have more room for everything and everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so
So
much, Kejan.
no, yeah, thank you. This was a great chat.
Yes, it was. I agree. So
Yeah.
everyone, follow Kejan on Twitter if you're not already doing it. For your breaking news updates, follow me at Brownie. And next month, we'll see which journalists we have in the seat here, hopefully with better technology and all that. So thanks, guys.
No problem.
Safe and enjoy the rest of it. I'm out.
Bye bye.
Bye.